I think we are entering a point where it is safe for me to say that we are probably never getting the final two entries in the Song of Ice and Fire epic, so I'm pretty sure we're all accepting that the disappointing ending of Game of Thrones will likely be the closure we get to that story. As recently as 4 years ago, I would have gotten angry when George R. R. Martin would announce he's working on a project other than his books. But now I'm just starting to think it's funny and dumb. Kind of like how us gamers laugh at the idea of Half-Life 3. But when I heard that a short story Martin wrote is being adapted into a film that Paul W.S. Anderson directs, I got laughably excited. Like, I am thrilled that I know I'm about to watch a laughably bad movie. Anderson is not known for his high quality, and I think he just does what he does to please himself and no one else. In the Lost Lands is a movie that I must review on two levels, critically and on a camp level. Because if I just review it critically, I don't think I will be able to convey why this movie is so terrible, but I love it at the same time. Let's do the formal part first, then I'll get into why this movie is great trash. It stars Milla Jovovich and Bautista, and is about a queen who hires a witch to find a shapeshifter and kill it so she can take its power. The witch, named Grey Alice, never refuses a wish, so she sets out on a journey through the Lost Lands and meets a hunter named Boyce. The two are being pursued by guards within the royal government who want to kill the witch, and there is would-be political intrigue in the royal lands. As it seems to be the case in most of his recent films, Bautista is one note here. I don't know if it's because he is only capable of being in one mood at a time in each project he undertakes, or if they tell him to be that for the entire runtime. Jovovich isn't exactly being diverse here either, though. She tries to give off emotional vibes with her eyes, but mostly comes off as stoic as Bautista is. So we're following essentially two pieces of wood for 90 minutes. But I did see Return to the Blue Lagoon, so I know that she's not the most diverse actress in the world. As with all films directed by Anderson, it is way over-edited. It doesn't allow its action to breathe long enough for us to like the choreography we are seeing. I'm starting to think that Anderson is best friends with Kevin Dunn. The CGI is not good in this movie. Bautista's character has a gun that shoots snakes out of it, and the snakes look as fake can be. And even though this world is based off a book by Martin, I am convinced that these sets were designed after Anderson played the games Shadow of Mordor and Dying Light. Everything with the way the Lost Lands are shown makes it look like every zombie game you have ever played in your life. I also have to mention that there is so much slow-mo in this movie, and many 360-degree shots. It gets really silly after a while. The dialogue is not good here, and is delivered either in a stone-faced way, or an over-the-top way. Most of the ridiculous acting happens at the kingdom of the princess, because the princess, the guard who loves her, and the Kingsman guard dude, who wants to take the throne, talk with a bass in their voice like they are doing a bootleg stage play of The Lord of the Rings. It's hilarious, but we'll get to that in a minute. There is a map that the film shows us, which has all of its locations leading from right to left. And the last thing on the left is their location. I believe it was called Skull Mountain. So we know we are visiting all these luscious locales. But like 3 of them have approximately a 2-minute scene there. Yet it takes them a full day leading into the night to get from place to place. The film is a lot about telling and not showing. We are led to believe that these lost lands are dangerous places that no one should visit. But with the exception of some zombies in the third area they visit, none of it comes off as threatening at all. So it got to the point where I was saying, this is some interesting scenery you have here. Too bad nothing lives there to help us get into the world more. It's almost like Anderson inserted them just to be temporary set pieces and then move on to the next place. We gotta focus on that love story. The love story between the two main characters, which has no chemistry and is something I can best describe as two slugs occupying the same storm drain. I didn't buy them as a unit at all, so when they had their alleged touching moments, I laughed at how the film wanted me to care with this weird music but with no passion. I get more passion from the love scenes in Mass Effect than I do in this movie. I keep bringing up video games because that's what it feels like to me, a video game movie. It reminds me of things like Mortal Kombat and Monster Hunter the movie. Oh, wait, Anderson directed both of those. Well, then I doubled down on my statement. Look, the bottom line is on a critical level, this movie is pretty bad. It has a bad script, bad CGI, no tension, fight scenes that were boring, and planks of wood pretending to be people. The best thing I can say about this movie is the design of the zombie creatures. They looked pretty cool, and I like the mood of the picture, if only it allowed me to absorb the mood more instead of fighting with its constant over-editing. In the Lost Lands is just a typical straight-to-DVD movie that looks like it was made in the mid-2000s. Now let me tell you why I love it. It is laughably bad, everybody. Whenever I watch a movie that I know is bad, I ask myself during watching it, well, is it at least laughably bad so I can at least enjoy it? I'm happy to report that In the Lost Lands is that, laughably bad. Anderson knows what he's creating here, and he's doing it for his own entertainment, and there's something kind of charming about that to me. Does anyone remember films like Red Sonja, Sheena Queen of the Jungle, or Deathstalker? If you do, then I'm happy to report that the costume design in this movie is as ridiculous as those films were. Let's begin with the fact that the fortress our queen lives in looks just like Castle Grayskull. The movie gets 5 stars for that reason alone. I could take or leave the stuff with our two main characters, but everything around it was hilariously fun. The queen is married to an old man who is clearly dying, and she gives these anti-men monologue with the most villainous seriousness ever, and it's so funny how stupid she sounds. More campy melodramatic, though, is the Kingsguard guy, and the woman he sent to pursue our main characters. He gives speeches throughout this weird medieval screen communicator thing that are some of the best bad dialogue speeches I've heard in a good while. Imagine if someone like Will Ferrell gave some of the serious speeches Aragorn in Lord of the Rings did, and you have how silly all of it sounds. The main woman pursuing our characters acts like this angry Russian, and she seems to be inspired by Zarya from the game Overwatch. What happens to her and her team made me almost cry from laughing. They use a train to pursue our heroes, and as I said, we see a map of the Lost Lands. So we see that the train tracks break apart and have a massive gap between them once we get to the last location. She sees the witch in a train tunnel just before the train tracks end. Full speeds ahead to hit her, then falls off the train tracks by plummeting to her death. For someone who is supposed to be some sort of general for the armies of this world, she doesn't know geography very well, does she? You know you're watching a bad movie when the audience sees something that someone who lives in the world doesn't even know exists. It's things like this that make it a great bad movie to me. Every time there was a fight scene after the initial adjustment of the crazy over-editing, I was laughing and saying, I don't know what the hell is going on here. To go back to how stupidly funny the story is, the queen asks for the shapeshifter skin. Then immediately afterward, her main guard asks the witch to make the wish fail. The witch can never say no, and I have no idea why, by the way. So why didn't the witch just not do the mission at all, since her last 2 wishes basically cancel each other out? It seems it would have saved her a lot of time and agitation. Since we wouldn't have a movie without it, that means the adventure only exists because the script demands that it does. There is a reveal about the shapeshifter and its relationship to the main story, but I won't spoil it except to say that I saw that coming from a mile away. And then the way our main character knew the realities we weren't informed of until the end of the film gives her the belief that she's smarter than everyone. But the way it's presented just makes her look like the dumbest character in this whole story because her actions were not compatible with some of the insight about her we get. And we're even shown flashbacks to make sure the audience gets it all. We're too stupid to not see these epic things fitting in together. This is another bad movie that thinks its audience is completely moronic. But I can't deny that even though this movie is really bad, I really like it because of how stupid it is. If you saw my video where I talk about this year's Razzie nominations, you know that I love the film Madam Web. So I am a mark for movies that are so bad that they're good. And In the Lost Lands is one of those for me. There is no way I would ever recommend people see this movie in the theater, but if you like bad trash 2B movies, or movies that you just can't believe are setting themselves on fire with their awfulness, then check this movie out when it hits streaming. I think we have an early Razzie nomination here, but it is so entertaining with how it just doesn't give a damn about the audience, and only wants to please the whims of the director, and I presume his wife as well. Hey, George R.R. Martin, can you please stop philandering and finish your damn books already? I give In the Lost Lands 1.5 stars out of 4 on a critical level, but on a drive-in, campy, so bad it's good level, it gets 3 stars out of 4. This movie is only bad movie Psychopaths, but it is so fun. Okay, so In the Lost Lands, have you seen it, or have you read the short story? Please let me know. I don't know how Anderson keeps getting funding for these silly movies, but I'm glad he's still making them. Anyway, if you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to some of my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.